Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 101. Yes, we have done over 100 episodes. We didn't do a normal episode last week. We did a live episode on YouTube and that was an absolute blast. I am one of your hosts though, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How is it going, buddy? And how did you enjoy the 100th episode?
The 100th episode was fantastic. Dinner was fantastic. The banter was great. Everybody tuning in and just spending a bit of time was bewildering to me, but I'm very grateful. Thank you. And I wasn't hungover, and you were.
Yeah, it was a minor sharp headache type thing.
It was not a minor sharp headache because I texted you about 8 times, and the only reply I got was "my head is pounding."
Yeah.
If memory serves correctly.
I spent the entire day, 6 solid hours, sat in bed playing Neo 2 that following day, and it was a good day. It was a great day. I wish I had more days like that. It was thoroughly enjoyable, and yeah, you're totally right. It was a great show. We had some incredible generosity in terms of donations on the show, which was incredible. So extra special thank you to Chris Locke. That was really
awesome. Yes, Chris, you madman.
Of Chris, and as we mentioned on that live show, we are launching a Guitar Souls VIP thing. We'll talk about that after our sponsorship thing, though, as usual. How's your week been?
My week, just being honest, right? I think we speak a lot about mental health stuff.
Sure.
And try and help other people and talk about how things can be good. Maybe this is a good opportunity for me just to tell you how a bad week can affect me, and just to be honest and transparent with everybody. So I apologise that you asked, and I apologise that you're getting this answer. Only a couple of minutes. Just so many wee things have happened this week that I've just been scunnered with. Scunnered. And obviously I'm looking for work. I went for an induction with an agency into a factory, etc. Didn't hear anything. Then it turns out that the agency supposedly lost my number, phoned Nancy, left her a voicemail, who was my emergency contact on the paperwork, so I had to have had my number and my email address. Phoned Nancy and said, I need to get in contact. So I phoned back, gave my number. They phoned Nancy again, rather than my number that I'd just confirmed with them about 10 minutes before, and offered me a couple of shifts around it. I sent a text message. Anyway, we got that all sorted. I just considered that a couple of different people use that mobile phone. It's a work phone. Takes time. Signed up for a couple of shifts. I started at 6 a.m. this morning. I went to bed at 9 o'clock last night because obviously the clocks went forward. I had to get up at 4:30. I did not fall asleep till about maybe 2:30, and I was having just the worst anxiety of my life yesterday. I don't know why, just out of nowhere felt rotten. So it came to bedtime and it was like rattling. Like you'd think I'd drunk like 6 cans of Monster, and you know I can handle my caffeine. So, but like genuine, like my legs were going and everything, and it wasn't just like I've got a wee twitch because I've had too much caffeine. It was a real considered like something's not right. Anyway, tried to get to sleep, didn't sleep very well. Turned up for this shift this morning, and there were 4 staff on site, 1 permanent member of staff, myself, and 2 other agency boys that started today. One of which, it doesn't really get back to him, but one of them was a nice enough guy, but wasn't quite getting it. And the other guy was just a bit of a dick. Honestly, like we weren't even in an hour, and he was shouting at the other guy for not getting the orders right, even though he was learning at the same pace as everybody else.
Sure.
And I just, because my anxiety was through the roof and just everything else, all the circumstances regarding that and all the things that have been going on in my personal life, I was just getting myself scunnered, and I tried to crack on. And it got to the point when it came to break time where I was just like, I'm really sorry, this isn't for me, I'm going home. And they're like, oh, you need to say to so-and-so in the office. I was like, fine, no bother. So I went and spoke to that person as if it was like, oh, you need to explain to them. And I just said, listen, this isn't for me, I'm sorry. I don't mean to leave you in the lurch, but it's just not my cup of tea. I'm afraid it's not working. And they just went, all right, okay then. So kind of an effort was made. Now the hassle that I went through trying to get some fucking hours to then get offered this and then turn up and see what happened, I was just like, you know what, man, back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Back
to the drawing board. So I got home this morning, I left at 5ish, was in there at 9:30, did a couple of hours work, and just came up the road. And since then, it's just been one of those days where I've been on like a fucking roller coaster. Like, talking to myself, legs going, big sighs, like, oh my God, all this stuff. And a friend of mine, I'm not going to name them, who had a really horrible tragedy last year, lost a really close family member and is bringing through his own stuff and doing quite well. Put something up on Facebook and it just resonated really well with me. This is the redemption arc of the story. So I saw this post, and the post was essentially saying, like, do you know, I think it's really shite that sometimes you just out of nowhere you feel depressed, and even if you think what's the reason for that, you know the reason because it's all linked back to this that you're trying to deal with. And I don't mean to feel sorry for myself, but I'm going through it and blah blah blah. So I just messaged saying, listen, I totally get where you're coming from. I feel you. It's not the same situation. I don't have the same grieving process you're going through,
Sure.
But I totally understand what you're talking about. That's just hitting the brick wall shit and just being stuck and feeling sorry for yourself.
Sure.
And I said, he said back, that's it, I'm just feeling sorry for myself. And all I could reply was, that's absolutely fine, you're allowed to. And when I typed that, I started feeling better myself, because I kind of gave myself a wee break and was like, it's alright to just have a shit day, to be like, things haven't worked out, despite best efforts, nothing's went to plan, just need to take a day to look after my own mental health, my own sanity, my own abilities, and start again tomorrow.
Yep.
But I got a nice reply back for my friend as well. So that's basically been my week, mate.
Sure.
Long and short of it. The personal stuff, you know a wee bit about. It's evolved for there. We'll leave it at that.
Sure.
And then everything else was just everything else. But it is Monday tomorrow, my dudes. Well, today, really.
Yeah.
But tonight, by the time we're tuning in. But mindset is tomorrow, applying for more jobs and studying for this application I've got on Wednesday. This interview I've got on Wednesday. So, long story short, shite week. Going to make a better one next week. How are you?
Well, I don't really know how to follow up from stuff like that, you know, because I'm so used to like living in the public eye, if you like, and painting the image of everything being rosy. I've just kind of I'm good at perceiving things like that as well. I had a bunch of friends reach out to me over the last couple of days because Hayley moved out, so the house is me now. It's my house, just me in here, and they were all worried about me. Like, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm fantastic. I've got my house. If we weren't in lockdown, I'd have a party right now, because the future is exciting, even though scary and terrifying. All we can do is keep plodding forward, hoping for the best and working for the best would kind of be my way of looking at things. So
well said, man. Well said.
But of course, you know, everything Mike said there about it being okay to feel sorry for yourself and to have bad days, just reaching out to a friend like that. I think one of the driving forces in the podcast and the reason we keep plugging forward with it is because we know that we're having that sort of positive effect on a lot of guys out there that
even just for ourselves, if we're being totally horrible and selfish, like no, but in a good way, like maybe it's not just self-centered, but the community aspect, even if it was just me and you that were chatting, which sometimes it is, like right now it is, obviously.
Sure.
Come right now when people are watching it, we'll be in the chat probably talking away to people, but it's cathartic, it's nice. It certainly reiterates the importance of community in my mind, or how much I need socialisation. It's probably the better way to put it. Sorry to cut you off there, mate. You were talking about the importance of mental health.
No, totally fair. For me, it's the relentless lockdowns, isn't it? Like you talk about social interaction and things like that. It was really nice having you over and doing the podcast last week. And I've had Melissa over here for a couple of days, which has just been really nice. It's just nice to have people around. Lee popped over today, gave me an Easter egg. Good old Lee Love. We won't do a last name on there.
That's Doxer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, had a lovely conversation with Lee. She couldn't come in because she had her niece with her, and her niece is allergic to dogs. And there was just that.
Yeah, that's sweetheart, isn't she?
Sure. Yeah, and there's just that overwhelming thought of like, I just can't wait for these lockdowns to be over because it'd be really nice to all just sit down and have a proper catch up with a cup of tea or a cocktail.
You know what, man? Having that drink with you the other night for the episode was so cathartic, and I didn't realise. I'm not bothered about drinking anymore.
Sure.
Even to the point where I had a drink, I think I had a cocktail or two on Tuesday night just because I'd been in the mood for it. I went and got mint sugar syrup, and I made mint juleps with that rather than mottling the mint just for the sake of laziness. But I think they might have had a contribution, or might have been, a contributing factor to my mood change. Because I haven't been drinking a lot recently, and I'm obviously on sertraline. Too after it, there's a bit of a dip.
Right.
And 2 days in the trot,
Right.
Plus, I missed a dose of sertraline. So really what I'm saying is I'm irresponsible and I deserve to feel bad because not only did I put myself twice into a position where I shouldn't have been drinking, fuck it, I forgot to take my medication. I think it was Wednesday night. So
no one deserves to feel bad.
Chips.
No one deserves to feel bad. The only time that you would deserve to feel bad is if you're feeling bad and you're not reaching out to people and allowing yourself to continue feeling bad. So as always, we will keep banging that drum. Reach out to people. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay to reach out to friends. It's okay to reach out to each other and ask for help and support and all that love and kindness and good happiness and stuff. I believe this. Yeah, to peace, love, happiness. I don't know, the Levi thing. I'm getting all rambly. You know what? Let's do a cut. Did you know? This show is brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. If you want to see something beautiful, head on over to Ormsby's Instagram page right now and see what they are all about. Ormsby Guitars have been at the cutting edge of guitar design innovation since Perry started the company way back in 2003. Since then, the brand has gone on to be one of the #1 brands associated with Australia and modern guitar design. Aside from having one of the most ridiculous custom shops in the market today and a dedicated team that can essentially build you anything that your heart desires, more recently the brand has gained critical acclaim for their runs of custom order guitars manufactured in Korea, shipped to Australia and then sent out through their distributor network. These guitars include incredible designs such as the Hype and the Goliath. If you head on over to Ormsby's website right now and check out the pre-order section, you can pre-order a Goliath Run 14 guitar now for under $1,200. That's an incredible price and an amazing amount of guitar for your money. So as always, a huge thank you to our friends and family over at Ormsby Guitars. It's a strange time to be doing an Ormsby plug because there is news on the horizon. We were talking to Perry about it today. And it's super exciting. And I'm like, okay, when can we talk about it? We're recording tonight. And he said, can't talk about it tonight. Not sure when everything's going public. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled on the Ormsby socials. There is some super, super cool stuff coming in. And this is from my perspective. When I say super cool, I'm talking about super cool to the point where I messaged Perry today saying, right, tell me how much money I need to send you and where I need to send it because I want this thing and I want it right now. I want it 5 days ago, please. That would be fantastic. And then less than 5 minutes later, when Perry and I are talking about something different, you just came in and went, I'm serious. Yeah. This, how much, where, when, how. Yeah, so legitimately so something that I'm excited about. Genuine excitement about a piece of gear. And also, we need to do another thanks. I haven't done a video for it yet. I've been super unorganized just recently. But we've brought on another sponsor in the case of, let's go with that, Daniel over at Dead World Audio. We've been a long-time fan of his work. He's been a long-time viewer of the show and friend of the show. And yeah, he donated a pedal to us to give away on episode 100. That was kindly given away to Name Redacted. And the Name Redacted was actually chosen by Chris Locke, who was the very generous gentleman in our live stream. So really cool to give back in that sense. And yeah, it was totally random. And it went to a gentleman by the name of Name Redacted. I posted the pedal out to him, and fortunately, he was in Scotland. So what are the chances? Evidently, we have a Scottish audience.
But that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've mentioned this in the podcast before, but probably some of the best part I've ever heard in my life. Part of being banter.
Yeah.
When I worked at SSE, I worked with a chap there who was from Fife. And every morning you'd ask him, all right, Alan, how are you? All right, mate, loving life, hating Fife, eh? Loving life, hating Fife. Like,
fantastic.
So Name Redacted, I hope you don't hate it as much as Alan did.
Yeah.
Unless you are Alan, plot twist.
Yeah. I know his real name now, and no, he is not. He is not. So, yeah, super cool of that to go out to somebody in Scotland. Well, nice to go out to a fan of the show. And one more time, big thank you to Daniel over at Dead World Audio. Please do go and check them out. Check out the Duality. It's a stonking good pedal, and I cannot wait to get some demo clips together to put on the podcast because it's astonishingly good. Like that's all there is to it. Check it out. I'm sure that you may enjoy it. On the note of sponsorships and other money-related things, we have finally launched some way that you guys can support the podcast. This is an awkward subject of conversation because we will never be putting this podcast behind a paywall. It's just not going to happen. But also, of course, I have my own Patreon. And because I have my own Patreon, it never felt right to launch another Patreon for something else. It would feel wrong to have a bunch of people that support me on Patreon and then for me to essentially say to those guys, or I should say you guys, because I'm sure some of you are Patreon supporters, to say, so guys, I know you give me money, but can you also give me more money? Like, that's not something that felt right, but it couldn't just be under my Patreon, of course, because the Guitar Souls isn't my show, it's mine and Mike's show. So we've been spitballing ideas, and we were, even on the live show, we were talking about launching a Bandcamp subscription, a Bandcamp premium thing, where you could subscribe. The reason we didn't go that route is, well, there was a couple of reasons. They take too much money, and they take too much of a cut. It's like 15%, and they only allow you to provide audio files to people, which is no good if we're doing special videos for people. So we didn't go that route, but we have, I can happily say, officially now launched a Guitar Souls page on buymeacoffee.com. So if you check out buymeacoffee.com/Guitar Souls, link in the description. A similar website in terms of concept to Patreon. The big difference being that their idea is that you can buy a content creator that you enjoy a coffee. So while you can subscribe to a membership on there at the $5 level, you can also just buy us a coffee. So if you would like to, you don't have to be a member of the site or anything. You can just send donations there. And I can tell you this, for all the generosity that we got on the live stream, everyone feeling super generous, fantastic. The thing I should point out to everybody there, YouTube take 30% of that. Buy Me a Coffee do not take 30%. So donations much more sensible on there. We didn't actually plan to get any donations on that live stream. If we'd planned for that, if we knew that was going to happen, probably would have provided you all with my PayPal link, right?
I didn't expect even one super chat, never mind people sending us fucking silly money.
Yeah.
And I like how you brought up the idea of the Buy Me a Coffee link. Is anybody that's engaged with us, or anybody that was at the live show, and if you were, thanks very much, will attest to, we've kind of hinted at the idea of trying to make this a bit more sustainable for us as well as yourselves, probably for the last year, maybe a wee bit more.
Yeah.
And we're doing our best, like, but the problem is what we come against, and exactly as Levi's saying it, but deadly against the idea of paywalls. This isn't a first and foremost business money making exercise.
Sure.
But again, to go into the savvy stuff that Levi talks about, at the end of the day, it's music business, and it costs us money to host this stuff.
Yeah.
And if we've got money there and we've got a little fund, then we can look at, cool, what can we do special for this next episode? Well, we could, once lockdown and COVID fucks off a bit, we could do this. We could go to the guitar exhibitions and the trade shows.
Yeah.
Maybe make NAMM, whatever. Like, and we want to be able to do those extra little things and not necessarily have it all paid for and fucking have two like beautiful penthouse suites or whatever, but every little helps, as Tesco put it. And as Levi said, you don't have to subscribe if you don't want to pay for a membership. Absolutely fine, no obligation whatsoever. You can buy us a coffee or / beer, whatever it's got on there.
Sure.
Also no obligation for that either.
Yeah.
This is a big community. If you can support us, brilliant. If you can't,
yeah,
not any skin off our nose.
Yeah, you
and
still be getting the show.
Exactly. And just the final thing I want to say on that is, this is trial and error for us, as Levi said.
Yeah.
We're kind of, it's not an awkward conversation per se, but it definitely is an awkward topic.
Sure.
To get right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because both, I think you and I definitely align on it.
Yeah.
We don't want people to have to pay for the basic content. If we can give more and give incentive, brilliant. So on that note, I put this out to everybody who's either watching live Monday Night Guitar Geek Club on yourselves, or watching afterwards. So either in the live chat, or fire in the comments below, or send it to our social medias, get us on Facebook, pester Ormsby with your ideas. I don't know, I don't think Perry would take kindly to that, so don't do that. And rule number 1, don't tag Perry. Let us know, because everything that we've done so far that's been collaborative in nature with yourselves, the community who have made this possible for us so far, has worked out, and I've loved it, and I'm more than happy to try stuff and see what happens. Maybe even bring back Album Club, who knows?
Yeah, we'll be doing a bonus episode each month, but we'll play it by ear. The whole beauty of the crowdfunding concept, and it's something that I've super experienced in now, is it's always changing, it's always adapting. You're always trying to fine tune what you're offering people to give them what they want, not what you want to give them, but what people are really interested in. So yeah, we'll be playing this one by ear, guys, and if you do join up to the membership, expect a bonus episode over this coming month, and who knows, maybe it'll be an album club. Give us your thoughts if you're a member. let us know. If you're not a member, we don't care what you have to say. No, I'm kidding. We always we absolutely
And
care.
if you subscribe and you're not happy with it, tell us what you actually want. This is just as much a process for us as it is for anybody else who's want to engage with us or enjoy our content.
Yeah. And
maybe we need to start a video game podcast on the side.
Yeah, we do. We try to monetize the podcast a little bit by offering you guys t-shirts, but that's one that just kind of sucks for us because Teespring takes such a ridiculous cut off of all of those sales because they do all the manufacturing and the shipping and everything. When we sell a t-shirt on there for something silly like $30, we make like $8 or $9. Like it's insignificant. And I don't want to price the t-shirt so high that it would make the sale viable for us because then it's just even less viable for the people that love the show. Anyway, speaking of people that love the show, let's read through this fan mail. We've got a few bits of fan mail, some great questions this week. Hoping for a relatively short show. We'll see how that goes.
Like we'll see how we go on.
Yeah.
Fantastic segue, by the way. I have to point it out every time it happens because you're fucking good at it, man. You're like a maestro. Anyway, let's crack on. We've got 3 pieces of beautiful fan mail that I haven't really read yet, but I know they'll be beautiful. First one from John King. Sorry, excuse me. Great live show, lads. Maybe do one a month, please. Well,
I like that idea.
Aye, I'm into it. Me and you getting pissed once a month and people coming along and giving us hard banter and whatever else and slagging us, whatever else happens. For those who were slagging, the bus seat's back. Thank you. Big thanks to all you for giving me fucking pelters, Lee and Mark that started the patter. These are fucking at it. Big Craig winding me up and all. So anyway, just like the film yesterday, if you were to pick a band that were erased from the world's memory in which you could release their entire catalogue and receive all the credit for, I'm assuming who would you be or who would you pick, and also what one of the tracks would you bin?
So this is a great question.
Wow.
It's in reference to that Beatles film that I keep talking about yesterday, which I do think is an excellent film. And I thought it was such a good question. I loved the question, but I also couldn't think of an answer on the spot. I thought maybe if I just put it on the podcast, maybe I'd, maybe something would spring into my mind. It's a tough one for me. It's a really interesting question because I don't know. In a scenario like that, I just want to go for a band like the Beatles just because of the sheer amount of influence and success that they had. You know what I mean? But then I think to myself, well, maybe someone like Queen for similar reasons.
How the fuck did you pick my answer as your first answer?
So go on, tell me more about Queen. Why Queen?
I think Queen had such a dramatic roller coaster of a success story, and even just the evolution as artists. Like, can't deny that, like, Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever, ground changing. It changed the scope of what popular music was ever going to be like. The idea of orchestration in music, like, there's so much happened in that band. It's mental. John Deacon being not only a tech whiz but an incredible bass player. Just, where do you start with Queen?
Yeah.
Where do you start? It's just, what more can you say? As for a track I would bin,
it's definitely one that needs thought, isn't it? And I would encourage anybody watching the show, if you could do the same sort of thing, like who would you be? Who would you have? Who would you take over? There's just so many great answers. Like, I would say something ridiculous like Slipknot. Not for any reason, not because I think the art that they've put forward is some of the greatest art in the world, but because imagine actually, well, okay, that's not really the question, is it? I was going to say, imagine being in Slipknot. Imagine having the opportunity to launch that music and tour the world playing that music, and the fire and passion that would have come in the live performances. That would have been, just an absolute blast. I just keep coming back to the same answer though, in my mind, and it's because he's my desert island artist, and it would be Ozzy Osbourne. If I could have all of Ozzy Osbourne's music, if I could release all of Ozzy's music as my own, maybe. But
what song are you deleting?
Oh wow, there's far too many. The entire last album. There you go. Just delete Ordinary Man.
That's way more than one song, you realise.
Yeah, I know. Maybe My Little Man, which is the one he did with Steve Vai. But I do want to say Ordinary Man. Maybe just the song Ordinary Man, which features Elton John. Which I would say, actually, I've been really, from the piano playing, I've been listening to so much Elton John over the last few weeks. And
incredible.
Again, another potential answer that I could say, but you could have
he didn't
done
write
yesterday.
any songs, though.
It's him and Bernie Taupin, so he writes the music and Bernie Taupin will write the lyrics.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, and for anyone that hasn't seen the Elton John film, Rocket Man, excellent, really
I was talking
excellent.
about that recently. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah.
I also haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody, so I need to go on that.
Yeah, that's on my list of things to do. So that would be my answer. And if I could delete, there we go. So let's say I did Elton John, okay, and I could delete an Elton John song from existence. Candle in the Wind.
Really?
It's a nice song, but it's maybe the reason I didn't like Elton John for decades and decades is because, to me, Candle in the Wind is the picture in my mind that I have when I think of this will sound ridiculous, but my Saturday being ruined, my cartoons being ruined when Princess Diana died, and I sat in my living room wanting to watch my cartoons all day, and every single news channel just had that. So the idea, Diana died when I was extremely young, and then that song was just everywhere, memorializing.
And it seems to me that you lived your life. Yeah. I don't know why I went in a country swing there. Yeah. Like a candle in the wind.
It was a song that was written for Marilyn Monroe as well. So, to repurpose it for Diana seems a little bit disingenuous. Nice way to make a bit of money. But, the more and more I dig back into Elton John's catalogue, man, he's, there's definitely that kind of, in my mind, the same kind of Beatles level vibe to that.
Motherfucker is prolific.
Yeah, there's a throwaway line in the film, and I can't remember the exact number. It might have been 5, might have been 10, but let's just, for argument's sake, say it was 5. There was a point in Elton John's career where he was responsible for 5% of all record sales on the planet. That's wild. That's absolutely wild.
It's quite a big number, isn't it? It's quite a lot.
Yeah. So
that's wild. If I could delete any Elton John song, it would be Crocodile Rock, and you can't change my mind.
You sure? What about Don't Go Breaking My Heart? No?
I couldn't even try. No, that's fine. Absolutely fine. But see, as soon as I start hearing Crocodile Rock starting,
no.
It's just, oh man.
I'm also not a fan of Christmas songs, so Step Into Christmas. No, thank you.
I don't know. I mean, it's not Christmas right now. We are in March, going into April. So
maybe I change my mind nearer Christmas time. So yeah, let's move on from that. Great question though. I really enjoyed that question. Anyone wants to send in more questions like that, please do get them fired over to the fan mail address, link in the description, GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. Who do we have next, Mike?
I've only got one suggestion before we move on. John, that was a really good question. See if we get any other questions like this. I want to see your answers as well. Because obviously, if you're curious about us, I want to know what you're thinking. Because there might be somebody you say and I'll be like, fuck, amazing. Like, at first I was thinking, who do I think left like a big mark on my life when it comes to being in a band or whatever? And I kind of went through Alice in Chains and Nirvana and thinking about these people, like, because started off with light rock and whatever else, and then loving the Foo Fighters and progressing into Metallica and then Megadeth and the onward spiral into death metal. But I want to know your answers too. Come on.
I think that, great point.
Sorry, my door just opened. Quite
creepy
ghost. Sorry, we'll move on.
All right, who's next?
It just closed itself too. We'll get Fred Anderson next. Thanks for writing in, Fred. Hey guys, what are your thoughts on getting back to attending live shows? As I grow older, I was going less and less before the as I grew older, I was going less and less before the pandemic. It was hard to find the balance between established artists at large venues with high prices and more obscure or niche artists that don't always stop in your town. Anyhow, congrats on the 100th show. Thank you, Fred. No, thank you. It's funny you say that because I kind of found myself doing the same. I felt like I was getting a bit burnt out with live music, playing gigs and going and seeing all these other bands and standing and watching most bands before you play or after you play, whatever. Spending time with them, spending time with people that came to the show otherwise, friends, people you've never met, people that are buying merch. Just, it can be, I don't want to say draining because that sounds like I'm being really dismissive of the positives of it. But I think you can burn yourself out of the magic of live music, certainly if you're going to see it and attending it and enjoying it.
Sure.
And I kind of was that way, and I think what you've put there when you're saying it's picking between 60 quid tickets for Iron Maiden And
That's generous. 60 quid. You pay more
I know.
than that. Yeah.
4 or 5 gigs in the tune where maybe you're going to be standing in a butterfly anywhere, God rest it. But stereo or, I don't know, Ivory Blacks, like all these Glasgow venues, like smaller venues. So, thoughts on getting back to attending live shows. I can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not preaching for the high heavens that I will be the first person in the door to every gig. By all means, I'm bad for that. I'm quite selective in the gigs I go to because I don't get a lot of free time.
Yeah.
As much free time as I would like to. And I'm just going to change your second point into a question. Would I rather spend the money going to see a big artist, or would I rather spend it on small ones? For being a touring musician, I think the smaller ones would probably where I would try and put my money. But it depends on the lineup, depends on the venue, depends on the night. The problem you've got is it's not quite as clear cut as spend a lot of money for this band or spend not so much for this band.
Sure.
The venues make a difference, what date it's going to be, so whether it's during the week, like whether you've got other obligations, the venue itself, the closing time, how long the set's going to be, who's on the lineup. It sounds stupid.
Now you're overthinking
I know
it
people that won't go to the Hydro in Glasgow because they don't like the sound. They just won't go see them, do they?
Yeah, well, I won't go to the Hydro because anybody that plays the Hydro is going to be so big that your tickets are going to be so expensive, and you're not going to have an ideal position at the gig.
Fair enough. I went to see Alter Bridge.
Sure,
that was good.
Yeah. The reason I say you're overthinking it is because what the pandemic thing has taught me is I took live music for granted. There have been way too many times in my life where I've bought tickets for a show and not even gone to it. Because the days rolled around and I'm like, I'm not feeling it today. And no, never again. Like the moment I can go see shows again, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go see every show that exists, but I'm gonna go to a hell of a lot more shows because I miss the freedom, I miss going and enjoying some music. And believe it or not, it's maybe what I'll go and play again. So we'll see where that ends up. But it wouldn't surprise me if you can see me up and down the country with a talented singer at some point in the near future.
Certainly trying your best to get out there, and good on you.
Yeah.
Good. I think you make a good team.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, I think genuinely, I think the last time I bought tickets for a gig and forgot about the gig, missed it. If this is the right lineup, then this is a belter. It was the Faceless headlining.
Yeah.
After the Burial, Rings of Saturn, and Tooth Grinder. Now, Tooth Grinder, I think, are European.
Right.
I certainly know. Maybe I'm talking shite. Anyway, it was like a really good tech lineup, and I missed it. And it could have been great. And it's probably the only gig that I've really missed and been like, fuck. Except the time I split my head open and the first question I asked when I kind of came out from being comatose and concussed was, does that mean I don't get to go to the Anti-Faith gig? My mate Desi's old band, and this when I was about 14 or 15 at Payder Community Centre. And I was raging that I was so concussed I couldn't go.
Oh, that's...
Split my head open skateboarding.
To be young, mate, to be young.
Oh, I wasn't good at it to start with. I wasn't even doing a trick. I wasn't even being confident. I went down a flat bank and I was coming up a quarter pipe. And I didn't even get to the quarter pipe and I must have hit a small stone and the board stopped. And I went, he'd first. Yeah. No helmet on, nothing, right? Kieran and my mate Ross were there. And they thought I was at it until they saw blood running down the ramp. And then an ambulance came. I was so concussed that when the nurses and the doctors were asking me questions, I just kept going like that. You're lying. What makes you lie? Why are you a liar? Which was like part of this really stupid patter that we had when we were younger. Like somebody would say something, just be like, what makes you lie, liar? Just being stupid. But there was me basically shouting at the nurse's face, like, you're a liar. You're a liar, liar. Well, that patter. Anyway. Yeah. Sorry, I totally went off topic there.
Thank you very much for the question, Fred. And
much appreciated.
Final question.
Sam Ambrose Taylor. Hey dudes, question for you two is, what is the weirdest and or funniest experiences you've had during your musical careers and lives? The standout one for me is a few years back when I was heading over for a guitar lesson with a new tutor. As I was heading over to the studio for a first lesson, he accidentally pocket dialed me whilst he was taking a violent shit. Grunts, splatters and all. Needless to say, it was an awkward first introduction. I probably spent more time trying to look at this dude with a straight face and wondering if he knew he accidentally phoned me whilst he was murdering his toilet with the sheer might of his arsehole than actually learning guitar. Love the podcast and how you two put in a no bollocks deep dive into serious music related subjects. Maybe for Levi, he's learned. I'm just opinionated. It's refreshing to see a channel that doesn't put a facade on show, an obvious bias, or shill for companies. Maybe pick the wrong episode for that. We did just get looked after by YouTube. We've taken on another sponsor and we're looking at monetising further. But it's all in the best interests of everybody.
Yeah.
If this helps pay for hosting and helps us make other events that we can get around the country to see people even further afield, beautiful. If it doesn't, podcast still here.
Yeah. Well,
there's the best way to look at it.
Fair point. We'd still be doing the podcast if Ormsby hadn't given us guitars. We'd still be doing the podcast if Daniel hadn't sent us pedals. We'll still be doing this podcast. If one person listens to it, we'll still be doing this podcast. And if not, we'll keep doing the podcast, but it'll just be you and me sat having a drink.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
By the way, once a month actually sounds really enticing. Anyway, we'll get back to that. After me being like, my mental health's terrible after drinking. Rate to see genuine people within the world of guitar and music content creation. As a side note, it's thanks to you that shine the light on how Chappers is a wank stain. Fuck the Tories and keep up the good work. Regards, Sam.
All right.
Sam.
I'll answer this. And it's, it's not the most ridiculous story, but it just popped into my head. And I know it's one that I'm pretty sure I haven't told on the podcast before. So I've definitely told the story of being at the Marshall 50th in London, backstage interviewing people for that. My first interview job, getting to interview Paul Gilbert and, hang around with Satriani, and I was there also as Malmsteen's guest, and he didn't talk to me, which was very strange. Very
Thanks
strange.
for coming. Bye.
Not even that. I was on his VIP guest list and then didn't talk to me. Very strange.
How did you end up in his VIP guest list and he didn't talk to you?
Well, my girlfriend at the time.
Transcriptions for you or something?
No. My girlfriend at the time was his publisher.
Okay.
So the two of us were on the list to come down and schmooze, if you like. And
somebody
then I was
heard
also
that
there
you like
for work.
donuts.
Yeah.
And that put Matthew.
But of course, there were lots of people at that gig, and two people that were at that gig that I didn't get to interview. I got to interview one of them later on. Was Zach Wilde, and Kerry King was there, and we were there to interview Paul and Joe Satriani, if memory serves me correctly. But we were there via Marshall, not via Ibanez or anything like that. So we had all access. And when you're in a scenario like that, you're just trying to do your best to blag interviews with anybody that has 10 minutes type thing. So we're just trying to get
genuine
interviews.
Conversation and record what's happening.
Exactly. So we're trying to. It's like, well, Zach Wilde's here and Kerry King's here. If we can just find them, I'm sure they'll be good to sit down with us for a while. And so it was. Rich was our cameraman. Was just like looking around and going in dressing rooms looking for them, and he opens this door and it's like almost pitch black, and we'd let some light in as we do it. And as the light goes in, there's two beds, and in them, sleeping in both of them is not sharing a bed, but there was Zach Wilde on one side of the room and Kerry King on the other side of the room. And I'll never forget sort of peering my head around this door and seeing Zach Wilde lying on his back going and his beard going. And I was like, that's my hero asleep there. And then right as that thought popped into my head, Kerry King started to stir and get up, and we're like, fuck, run. I don't want to be found in this situation. So that was
wake up Papa Bear.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine Kerry King's a scary man at the best of times, and I can't think how scary he would be in that scenario after being woken by two people that were trying to get an interview out of him while he was having a
His
nap.
collar still in his beard.
Yeah. So that was certainly
on the night
a
shift.
funny one for me. And yeah, I'm sure that, again, if I thought about it longer, I'm sure I've got a ton of stories. But that one, just that image just completely burned in my mind. And thankfully, when I did get to interview Zach a couple of years later, he was really sound and really funny. And of course, I've told those stories on the podcast, so won't repeat those. But how about you? Something crazy that's happened to you?
Take your pick, man. There's been quite a lot of instances where I've either went to gigs and something wild's happened, or I've played at gigs and something's happened.
I know one. I know a wild one, and you may have told it on the podcast before. But I remember going to see Thank You Scientist with you in Glasgow. It was like just over a year ago, and you had just come back from Europe that day, and you had the journey from hell, right?
Pass. I don't remember it. I'm away that often. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I was just back, and I came straight into Glasgow. Or I came to you.
Yeah.
Where was I before that? Was that
Prague?
in Lithuania, maybe?
Yeah. I know you tend to have terrible luck when it comes to travelling across Europe, and you often end up having to do it on your own, dealing with delays and
That was that. That's right. Where was I coming back from? It might have been Lithuania, and my flight got delayed, and I missed my next flight, correcting flight. And when I tried to swap the flight, it charged me like 70 quid, and I didn't know if I was going to get home. It was a whole.
And I'm just at home going, I really don't want to miss this gig, and I won't go to it if Mike doesn't come.
And I made it. I made it.
And
I got to hang about with the guys, Tom, etc. It was a great fucking night. Really great night. And they absolutely blew the bollocks off me. As well, you know yourself, man. There's not a single member in that band that can't just go up there and take the piss on their own.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way. Right. This might also be another good thing for bonus content, us just telling stories. Because, I mean, there's probably going to be quite a lot, and people can pick questions and topics, and we'll go down to it. Right, I'm going to give you 2 quick ones, right?
Go on, do it.
So, I'll give you a funny experience for when I was younger, before I was in Party Cannon, and I'll give you a funny experience of when I was gigging with Party Cannon. So, the funny experience before I was in Party Cannon was playing in Glasgow in my first real band, right? We were called The Assassins, and we were a thrash metal band. And, we weren't very good, but we loved ourselves, and not in like an egotistical way, but we tried our best, right? It was a good laugh. And we were playing a gig in Glasgow one night, and one of my friends in the band, who will go nameless and positionless, not to give him the away, had a falling out with an ex-girlfriend. He has had a bit of a rough night and decided to get on the pints before we played, and got mortal. Now, if memory serves correctly, we were fairly young. We weren't, I think we were actually underage, so maybe 16, 17. Anyway, the friend in question, comes time to go on stage, and he is fucking bluttered, right? Which is just a common thing in metal bands. We played at a festival at a fucking, here's an even better story. We played at a festival that was for a charity, giving money to a church, and we got thrown off stage because we turned up too loud. The singer was swearing, and he threw a can of Strongbow into the crowd. Just threw it, and that was it. Shut off. Now, we were drinking on stage and everything. Man, I had 2 bottles of Jägermeister before I was on stage. And another completely different story. Wild things happened here. Anybody that's loyal to Pee in the Field will know what I'm talking about. What a great name for a festival, Pee in the Field. Instead of Tea in the Park. So anyway, mortal. With my friend in the band. We get on stage. Start playing. It wasn't too bad, man. He was obviously mortal, but it was like just a bit clunky. Everyone was alright. And being young men in a metal band, headbanging, etc., body hair, metal t-shirts, you know, it's like fucking, it's all the image. Anyway, the stage kind of ended, say, here, and then the barriers were here, so there was a small gap.
Sure. And
it was where the security team could stand on those barriers with a lip on them to pull you over and whatever else. Said member of the band had no idea where he was and fell between the stage and the barriers mid-song, and just kind of reappeared and then stood on the end of the barriers on the raised bit, like kind of confused but half going through it. And I, like at the time I was like, I can't believe this just fucking happened. But how drunk must you be to walk off a stage? Not a big stage, a small stage, not that far where you can't see ahead of you, in a well-lit venue, and not where you think you're going to have enough space to jump down or whatever. Because I'm no joking when I say the space between the barrier and the stage was about, I don't know, what's that, like fucking 2 feet?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, of course you're cropped, so people couldn't see your hands there.
Right. I thought you were just looking at the chart on the wall of me and my holding my penis. Yeah. Size chart, 2 feet. No, look at it, it's only 2 inches.
Yeah.
Fredrik run.
Nice. You must be really short.
Nice. I've not even got legs, mate. Sorry, right. Yeah. Anyway, the second story, long story short, Party Cannon travelled all the way to Europe. I think it was one of the first gigs I did abroad with them, into Holland, the Netherlands. We played in a kind of like a youth club venue kind of thing, but it was open to everybody. Beautiful venue. It was really cool. The people were great. And it came to the gig, and it was just, unfortunate, it was badly attended. The other bands were playing, we were good. One or two of them weren't quite Party Cannon style. But in true Party Cannon fashion, all the problems were technology and gear related. I was lucky enough to borrow someone's head. I was playing through like a Bugera Triple X or whatever it was called, XXL. Unfortunately, because the switches are MIDI on them and the foot switches they come with aren't very good, for some reason this amp kept changing channel by itself in the middle of the gig. So you can imagine playing brutal technical riffs and then all of a sudden you get clean channel for 3 seconds and right back out of distortion. And then the drums are on a riser, and Martin, the more he drummed, the less he noticed. The bass drum was sliding forward and the drums essentially fell off the stage all at the one show. The good thing being there was genuinely about 5 people there. So that's one of a very many stupid and funny stories.
Good. Any questions that people can send in that result in Mike or me telling stupid stories are very much appreciated. So thank you very much for the question.
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry about off on tangents there.
No, all good. Okay, so we got just a few pieces of news to go through this week because we're trying to not have shows that go too long. One of them, of course, is Monuments related. I put my Monument shirt on, especially for this, because Monuments have just dropped a new single, Dead Nest. Well worth checking out. It's an Ollie Steele penned tune. And yours truly did the transcriptions for it, obviously. I mean, credit to John and Ollie, man. What a fucking pair. The two of them they work great. They just work great together. Yeah, I've worked with John on so much stuff because I work with Riffhard, his website. And like I play mine as guitars. Like I clearly have a lot of time for John and his playing, and I think it's often underappreciated just how fucking good Ollie Steele is. I've done a couple of transcriptions for his solo stuff outside of the Monument stuff, and I just did a track for him. The song is actually called Untitled. You can go and check it out on his YouTube. There's a video of him playing it from years ago. He's doing a new release of it, and it's just every single thing that every lick I transcribe, everything is so just cool. So cool. He writes really, really cool, technical, proggy stuff that's a bastard to play, and he just executes it just flawlessly. Such a great player. Such a great player. All the time in the world for Ollie.
Just like a great counterpart to John, the tightest right hand in the world.
Yeah.
Brown. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous at times, man. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
John, don't think I've forgotten about you saying to me and Levi, or me or Levi, or one of us, about us coming down to visit with Kieran. It will happen. Mark my words.
Yeah, his studio is getting ridiculous as well. I was looking at one of his live streams just recently. I tuned in to say hello to everyone on that, and he just takes the piss with how many cameras he has set up to do his live streams. I'm going to go live and do a stream on YouTube at 9 o'clock tonight after this, and I have 2 cameras that I can switch between. John had like 11 different cameras that he's just switching between live in the studio, and he had someone else handling the camera. So as soon as I commented on showing off of all those different camera angles, suddenly it just started switching between all these camera angles, and I'm just so unbelievably jealous of his setup. It's a hell of a setup.
The thing I'm jealous of is the amount of beautiful amps he's got.
Yeah.
And have you saw what he's been using for an amp rack?
No,
you know how everything looks really nice in that room? It's like almost like bespoke furniture.
Yeah.
He tagged Oak Furniture Land in a post because they had like a 4 shelf unit.
Right.
But amp heads fit in it perfect. And I'm sure he was like showing it off, and he tagged them in it like any chance of a sponsorship or something. It was really funny. But you're right, man. Every part of that room's gorgeous, for the lighting to everything, just the placement, the equipment that's in it.
Yeah, John's got
anyway.
It's tragic actually, because like Ollie doesn't have the same thing going on, and he absolutely should, because I'm sure the only thing standing in the way of Ollie doing that is not having the studio. Ollie would have just shit kicker material, just like all my favourite songs on the last Monuments album turned out to be Ollie Steele songs. So good on him. Celeste, that's an Ollie Steele penned tune. So
really?
Great. So please do go and check out their new single Dead Nest. Very, very cool. And who knows what 2021 holds for the band. Hopefully they're going to be back kicking ass and taking names. And I can't wait to go and see them because, further to our comments at the start of the show, or my comments, I neglected live music and I need to go and enjoy a lot more of it because who knows when it might be taken away from us again.
I know. Just before we move on with that.
Sure.
Big shout out to Mike Mallion as well. Mike's back on drums. Great guy. Very good friend of Kieran's actually these days.
Okay.
And he streams on Twitch and stuff as well. Maybe not as much with all the DCMA stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never heard a man who can play drum beats with a keyboard sequenced quite as well.
Yeah. And
then go and play them on the drums too. You show off bastard. And I mean that in the nicest way.
Yeah.
Anyway. What do you want to talk about next? We'll talk about exciting things that are music related. Obviously, we're talking about Monuments having a new single.
Yeah.
There's another band that we both quite fervently follow.
Yeah.
And
hang on, wait, are we talking about Devin Townsend or Meshuggah?
No, both. I was going to talk about Meshuggah first, but
sure.
I mean, they all kind of fall into the same bracket, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there even is a Devin Townsend lyric, and it's why do we all have bands and yet still we all rip off Meshuggah? Something like that. And it's basically just like everybody.
Yeah.
And it's true. But two very big influences, certainly I think, on most people who listen to podcasts playing, whether they mean it or not or realise it or not, Fredrik Thordendal and Per Nilsson, two animals, two just world-crushingly unbelievable musicians, not even guitarists, musicians. Always at the box. Anyway, Fredrik returns to Meshuggah. Per's been released back to the wild, as they've said, in their own statement. Yeah. But there's a wee bit more to it. So the group wrote through the social media channels, and this has been reported on Ultimate Guitar 2 days ago. Things are happening. As some of you figured out, we have entered Sweet Spot Studios and have begun recording a new album. This next bit could have been taken off a Party Cannon album, Party Cannon Facebook status. Spoiler, there will be distortion and kicks. Also, we have other news. We're releasing touring guitarist Per Nilsson back into the wild to roam free in any way he sees fit. It's been a true privilege and honour to share the stage with Per, and even more importantly, we've made a great friend through our travels. Per, we thank you. You're a formidable human being. So why are we releasing Per back into a more stable habitat, you ask? The answer is simple. Fredrik will be back for lead work on the album as well as touring going forward. In other words, the band is back together in full effect. And I think normally I would see that almost as like Per was just a wee temporary thing, but here's the real guy. But I don't think it's like that. I think they've gave Per a really good nod and been like, you brought something completely different to the band, stepped into a pair of ridiculously big shoes to fill.
The biggest shoes in metal.
Absolutely. Done it your own way, done it really well, and now we're going to let you back to the thing that you're good at, which is anything really.
Another Scar Symmetry album.
Oh, please. And it's never going to happen. But Christian Elvestam, please come back. Christian, please come back.
Yeah, a part of me was a little bit disappointed with this news because, Meshuggah are playing Glasgow in November, and I thought, well, Per Nilsson in the band, that'll be an easy backstage pass. I'll be. I'm
sure if we ask, we'll still get one.
Well, who are we asking in Meshuggah now?
I'll just Facebook them and be like, oh shit, are you K-Max, brother?
Well, exactly, yeah. Kieran can get a backstage pass for absolutely anything. There'll be no problem there. But it would have been cool to get to hang out with Per in real life rather than in the online sphere.
I've never met Per. I know a few folk that have. I think were you spending time when you went to, what was the German one you went to? You and Ken and Andy and that
Music Mesa.
Mesa.
Yeah.
You hang about them then? Is that right?
But the focus for me is we did a big interview on my channel, like an hour and a half, me talking nerdy music things with him over, when was that? About a year ago now. And
did that come under the mandates for Guitar Greats?
Yes. Yeah.
It did, good. Just a wee plug for Levi there. Yeah. He's beautiful content.
And I've transcribed a bunch of his stuff on YouTube. I'm just, enamoured by his playing. I think he's a phenomenal player and a phenomenal human as well. So shame that he won't be in Meshuggah anymore. It would have been cool if they went 3 guitars, but still, it's Fredrik coming back to the band. You know what I mean? Super cool.
How saturated would that live sound be though? 3 guitars and a bass all at F sharp.
Yeah. In my mind,
Good
it would be. We often
God.
talk about Metallica on the show, but in my mind, it would kind of be like Metallica firing Kirk Hammett and giving Dave Mustaine the gig. You know what I mean? Like, like on the one hand, I'm like, well, Kirk Hammett's been with Metallica for decades. I don't want to go see Metallica without Kirk Hammett. But then, okay, you've got Big Daddy Dave coming back. Sure, I'm in.
Aye, I mean, if they put anybody, if they had fucking Stevie T playing the guitar, I'd probably still go over Kirk Hammett.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't know why I picked Metallica, because Megadeth is the better example, right?
Yes.
Love Megadeth. Cannot wait for them to tour again. Cannot wait to get the hang out of Kiko. But if right before the tour got announced, Kiko left the band and Marty Friedman rejoined the band, you know, I'm disappointed I'm not going to get to see Kiko go, but also Marty Friedman's in Megadeth. This would be cool.
Yeah. So here's a good question then, just before we move on. If that were the case, Megadeth's coming in tour and we've got tickets, brilliant. Actually, Kiko's not going to be on the tour, he's left the band or whatever. What's the deal breaker?
What, for going to see Megadeth?
Who lead guitarist that you would go, nah.
I mean, there's tons of them. Stevie T, there you go.
I mean, that was in the band.
Oh, like in the band. There's no deal breaker. There's no deal breaker. Like, I'd go see Megadeth with anybody playing guitar.
Fair enough. I would comment and say that the sloppiest I ever saw them was with Chris Broderick, and I don't think that's anything against him.
Yeah.
Because he's a ridiculous player. I think maybe he just didn't gel well with the band.
Yeah. He played with them for a damn long time, though.
He did, I know.
You know, if I've seen them with Chris Broderick before, and, you know, I take no issue with it. If Chris came back to the band, it's not who I'd want to see Megadeth with, but
Again,
I'd absolutely still be going. So
well, there's that, man. I've seen Megadeth. The only Megadeth gig I've not been to when they've been in Glasgow, I think, in the last, 12 years, was when did you go to the one that was at the Brayhead Arena?
I didn't go to that, no.
Nancy was at that gig?
Yeah. That was the one where everyone got pickpocketed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I didn't, because I wasn't there.
So, yeah, on the note of, we mentioned Devin Townsend, this is a really interesting and funny news story, and I couldn't not run with this. Devin Townsend has soundtracked a new BBC children's TV series. Colours is a 14-episode educational show on CBeebies.
Which is mental. First of all, right, Devin's got some very beautiful and expressive music, but he's also not got a filter, and he's known for just being a bit...
Yeah.
I don't want to say Tourette'sy, but he certainly just goes with the flow, doesn't he? He just, whatever comes out, comes out.
Yeah.
Secondly, BBC, like, it's not like he stays in Britain, or he's a famous British musician, or he's got any major position or platform really in Britain other than his music, which is mental. They're really, I just think there's like so many steps away from this being okay, I can see how that came about.
Oh, you can totally see how that came about. All it takes is one person that's working on the show to be a fan of Devin's music and to put it forward to the music supervisor of the show, and then them go, oh yeah, okay, this stuff's really So
it's funny you say that. A friend of mine who works in media and does all the advertising, and especially multimedia stuff, and like digital marketing, he told me that at the end of a project, he was speaking about the project manager, and he showed the project manager one of Kieran's videos or something, and the guy's like, you're kidding on, like, I love that guy. If I knew you knew him, I would have said him, get him on the project. Yeah. Like,
yeah, that's how this stuff works.
As you say. Yeah, that's it.
Everything's who you know.
That's it. So don't bother wasting your time studying. Just be a brown nose. Kidding on. I'll just read this very quickly.
Yeah.
Any parent with young children in the UK will be able to tell you what a wondrous thing CBeebies is. It's the BBC, which is the British Broadcast Corporation's own channel, catering for the ages of 2 to 6 years old, and is also available on the iPlayer service. And it now comes with added Devin Townsend. Really? The Canadian Progeteer recently confirmed he soundtracked all 14 episodes of the new series Colours, and it was no child's play. Can't wait to watch this with Finlay and be like, see that guy singing that song? He's mental. You know what? I meant that as in, like, when he was doing the Strap Young Lad stuff, when he was genuinely off his psych meds, not to be horrible and paint him in any way. I'm sure we got that, but just to clarify, so I don't get cancelled. Somehow he managed to take on the commission while making 2 forthcoming solo albums, more on those below. Doesn't surprise me that Devin is working on yet more material.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a madman.
He's prolific. So the quote goes, "So yeah, during the making of Puzzle, I made the soundtrack to a kids show on the BBC. Townsend confirmed on Twitter yesterday. It's 14 episodes," he added. "It was a big learning curve and lots of work, but the people who produced it were very cool." Oh, that's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prodigiously talented with an ear for the grandiose as well as the ambient, Townsend's a natural fit for soundtrack work. We wonder if a Trent Reznor-esque chapter in his career could be on the cards one day. But his next album, Puzzle, will also encompass that. In January, Townsend confirmed on social media he'd been working on a film, 2 albums, and a graphic novel, amongst other things, called The Puzzle. Confirmed those 2 albums are Puzzle itself, chaos and meant to represent the internal dialogue in a fundamentally absurd time, and Snuggles, that Townsend liked too, a beautiful balm that acts as a conclusion and something you can listen on loop to feel better.
I love him. I just love him.
He's a wordsmith, isn't he?
He's an artist.
Like, he really is. He really is.
Yeah. All the time in the world for him. So, yeah, can't wait to see that. And maybe I'm going to sit and watch a damn kids TV show just to enjoy a little bit more Devin Townsend. Like, super excited for that.
100% going to be on that.
You've got a good reason to, though. You've got a kid.
I never said Finley's watching it. It's a bit like,
yeah, fair.
What do you call him? Fucking Mike Patton.
Yeah.
With the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
How many metal musicians are now going to start doing like the audio or voiceovers or whatever for these telly shows? Because Mikey from Sixth is doing voiceovers for games these days. I think he actually won like a game award for his voice acting.
Okay.
I think. Can't mind. Just as a total besides that with some kind of brain diarrhea and word salad. Shall we move on to the final story?
Yeah, let's do the final story. This is an interesting one. Bob Dylan.
You and I
know how we love to talk music business.
I was just going to say, just you and I falling right into that same old ageless trope.
Hashtag,
we talk
I'm not
about,
a lawyer.
But, exactly. So Bob Dylan argues co-writer gets no double dip from the $300 million songs sale. Now, that I didn't really read that heading properly, and it's quite hard to read without knowing the context.
Sure.
So I think, do you want me just to dive in a wee bit?
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that, and I forget if this is mentioned in the story, probably is, but we talked about it on the show recently, the idea of artists selling their catalogues to record labels.
Yes.
Bob Dylan sold his entire catalogue for $300 million, which is a lot of money, but of course there are people that he has co-written music with over the years. And yeah, how can you just sell music that you don't fully own? Well, this is really interesting because Bob does fully own it, but there are caveats to him fully owning it. Mike, take it away.
I think this is probably going to contribute to, if not be part of, some new legislation or some new legal precedent being set. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. I'm just going to avoid the top 2 lines and just go from one of the paragraphs that I think makes a lot of sense. So the defence of a lawsuit has Bob Dylan's attorneys discussing for the very first time some details about the legendary songwriter's recent $300 million sale of his entire catalogue to Universal Music. This week, Dylan moved to dismiss a lawsuit brought in New York by the estate of Jack Levy. Is it Jack Levy?
I assume, yeah, Jacques.
I'm going to say Jacques Levy, who collaborated with Dylan on his 1976 album, Desire. Levy's window claims the estate is entitled to a portion of the $300 million sales, specifically targeting $7.25 million. But according to Dylan, Levy co-wrote songs under a work-for-hire agreement that entitled him to royalties, not any share of the sale of copyrights. The quote is, "This lawsuit is an opportunistic attempt to rewrite a 45-year-old contract to obtain a windfall payment that the contract does not allow," writes Dylan's legal team, led by Oren Snyder at Gibson Dunn. According to the memorandum in support of dismissal, Dylan was one of the rare songwriters who owned copyrights to his musical compositions. He evidently maintained full publishing control, and with respect to songs co-written with others, sole ownership also came because the advert flashed there and it put me right off. Sorry. And with respect to songs co-written with others, sole ownership also came because he treated these musicians as employees in contract. As for the catalogue sale last November, Dylan says he no longer owns the copyrights or has any right to royalties from their exploitation. But Dylan's court papers add that while he no longer be getting new money from exploitation of his legendary songs, including All Along the Watchtower, Tangled Up in Blue, and The Times They Are A-Changin', he ensured that Universal would assume obligations to his old collaborators, including Levy, who co-wrote 10 songs and contracted for a 35% cut of income earned on them. Dylan thus extinguished his own rights in the songs at the time he made sure the plaintiff's right to compensation from future uses of the songs was preserved, states the court memo, characterising the Levy estate as now seeking an impermissible double dip.
This is wild because I feel like I just desperately need to side with Levi on this.
I am so in the grey area with this. In the grey area. So much. Can I give you my opinion why, see if it changes yours?
Sure, go for it.
Sorry, I know you've definitely been sitting thinking about this and you're going to have a great answer, right? Now here's my grey area, right? Sure. The recent hassle that Party Cannon have had with Derek Tickle of Rendai Flesh Designs.
Right.
Not the same scenario whatsoever, but drawing parallels in my brain of this. I want money and you're going to give me it.
Yes,
right?
But it's totally different.
Of course it is, right? There's not any contract in place to say that Levi should be given money from that.
Yeah.
He's entitled to the royalties that he's going to get, which he's still getting.
Allegedly.
Which I think is...
Yeah.
Well, okay, allegedly, right? It's been put to Universal to do that, right?
Sure.
But on the other hand, this is where socialist left-handed Mike comes out. You've got 300 million, mate. What is 7 million of that? What is 7 million of that? Well, and that's just for the money you've made from selling your back catalogue, not the money you've made from every other venture you have, or the fact that you are a fucking household name.
Yeah.
Just give them a 7.2 million. Wait, are you going to spend it on?
Yeah.
Are you worried you're not going to have... I'm only going to have 292.5 million now from that $300 million that I got. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck right off.
Sure. No, I'm speculating on this, of course, because it's like... you would like to think that the reason Levi would have brought this to court, or Levi's estate would have brought this to court, is because potentially they've tried to deal with Universal and they've tried to say, okay, can we get confirmation that we're still getting our royalties type thing? Mm-hmm. And they might have been told, no, we don't have any deals in place with you. We purchased this catalogue. We have no record of owing you any money. We didn't make any deal with you whatsoever. So no, we won't be giving you any money. And at that point, it makes sense that you would go back to the person that then sold that thing that was making money for you. The reason I just have to side with him is because, sure, so all well and good to say, well, we made a contract 45 years ago and that contract didn't stipulate anything like this and then. Well, of course not, because it wasn't conceivable at the time. But at the time, if you'd written up a contract and said, you're going to provide this work for me, and as part of that, you're going to be getting a royalty on all the sales. Oh, also... tomorrow I'm actually going to give it away to anyone and you won't get your royalties anymore, then it wouldn't have been a contract that the person would have signed, because obviously that's less than desirable. So unless there's some sort of protection in place that guarantees that Levy's still making his money from Universal, I'll side with Dylan. If Levy's absolutely making his money from Universal, then it's just a case of being greedy. But in this instance, we don't really know the ins and outs of that contract, but what we do know is that it specifically said royalties based on money that the copyrights make. Yeah, money that these copyrights make. Surely the sale of those copyrights is money that they make, because there's absolutely no way that 45 years ago you wrote a contract saying that you'll make money in royalties off of these contracts unless we choose to sell these copyrights to someone, in which case you won't make money. If that was stipulated in the contract, this lawsuit wouldn't exist. Obviously, it wouldn't be stipulated in the contract because it would be a weird thing to put in a contract. Why would you stipulate something you don't ever expect to happen? The way I see it is you have the songs were making money, and now those songs have been sold. And selling those songs is those songs making money. So why would this person not be entitled to their share, their royalties on these? And as you point out, it's $7.25 million, which is a lot of money. You're giving me $7.25 million? I'd be very happy with that. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely.
But
in the
context of $300 million, like, Jesus Christ, give the man his $7.25 million, or give his estate their $7.25 million. You know what? Give him $8 million and a wee note that says, thank you so much for the work that you did for me.
I'm still twisted on this, though, because we don't know how much this estate is made in royalties.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if $7.25 million is a fair amount based on the royalties,
no, that's
right?
Fair.
But then beyond that, they're arguing this is something to do with a contract.
Yeah.
The contract was a 35% of income earned on the songs.
Yeah.
If that's what they're going for, why is he not asking for 35% of the $300 million?
Well, because he only co-wrote on that one album. So I can't be. Yeah, you're totally fair there. I don't think I could say
you mean that maybe they've worked it
7.25
down
is a fair amount, because
Okay, yep.
it could be way too high, it could be way too low. But regardless, my opinion is that the guy worked for you, co-wrote songs, and as part of that had a 35% royalty on those songs. Now, a royalty is what you get paid when a product makes money. And here you have a product and you've sold that product. It has made money. You've sold their interest in the product. You have made that money. They should be getting a royalty off of that. 7.25 may be way too high. Maybe it's closer to 3 million. But either way, the guy has royalties, and it's exactly the way I earn royalties on my books. That's how I make my living, right? If Joseph just decided, well, he can't, because I have contracts in place as well. But if he just decided he was going to sell my books to Hal Leonard, he could never turn around to me and say, "Sorry, you're just out of luck," because that just wouldn't be reasonable, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Here is, I think, where Bob Dylan's lawyer's argument makes sense. I was just scrolling through there while you were talking. Sorry, didn't mean to be
no, it's fine.
Rude, but plaintiffs are seeking an impermissible double dip. They want both the continuing royalty payments from Universal and a piece of what Universal paid to buy out Dylan. It would be commercially unreasonable, grossly unfair, and downright absurd to pay plaintiffs their continued stream of royalty payments in addition to a share of the sale money when the only rights relinquished in the sale were Dylan's, not the plaintiffs.
Sure.
Put differently, the sale money reflects the value of the stream of future royalty payments to Dylan. It follows that plaintiffs are not entitled to a share of the sale money when they have not sold their stream of future royalty payments.
Sure.
That's obviously where this grey area comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, when it comes to things like this, we're ultimately only giving our opinion, and we're giving the opinions of people that aren't lawyers. And more so than that, it's not even judging whether or not something is legally fair. We're talking about what seems morally fair. The law isn't fair sometimes. It's supposed to be fair. Very, very, is an interesting one. Certainly an interesting one to me, and a strange one. I actually don't even know where I would fall on that. Sure, I could totally see the argument that Bob Dylan has sold his interests in these. Your interest still exists, so you're getting your royalties. You have no right to the sales of this. But maybe he shot himself in the foot with this one. Maybe Dylan shot himself in the foot by maintaining sole ownership. Because when they say he has sold his interest in these songs, well, Levi never actually had an interest in the ownership in the songs. So he sold the ownership, and part of that ownership maybe was this percentage. So I can see a world whereby he would be entitled to that sale money and be entitled to his ongoing royalties. Either way, greedy motherfuckers, the lot of them, they're all making so much money. So much money.
It's funny you say that. It's entirely what I want to know, is how they calculated the amount, not for the 300 million sale. Obviously, that's based on Bob Dylan's career and what they think it'll make him. But how Levi's estate have worked out this is what we should be entitled to. And really what's brought this to court, if it is as you say, Universal have just went, we don't know you anything. And that's became the problem. But then I would have thought they would be suing Universal, not Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one to see. I'm just going to check some stats on something.
Yet more for us to speculate on.
Yeah.
In future. Beautiful. Love it.
I'm just getting this stat.
So just while you're checking those stats,
okay.
This is a message to all the current viewers and future Mike. Write in the chat and make sure that everybody does it. If you're watching this, we want a thumbs up, we want a like on it. If you're not subscribed to the channel with the notifications on, get the fucking finger out.
Yep.
We need the help.
We do.
Because the more interaction we get, the more chance there is that we end up on the trending page or whatever.
Good point.
The more people we get in, the more sponsors we can get, the more we can start giving you content, the more time we can dedicate to it, the better we can make the content, the more chance there is that we get to come and see you.
Yep. Also, buy me a coffee /Guitar Souls. So the stat I checked up was how much Microsoft purchased ZeniMax for. ZeniMax being the owner of Bethesda. Because now, of course, Bethesda and all of the subsidiary studios of ZeniMax Media are owned by Microsoft. And now, Microsoft severely overpaid for this. But still, to put the Bob Dylan purchasing in context, I find this fascinating. The legacy that Bob Dylan has. The record labels put his music, the ownership of his music, at $300 million. Do you know how much Microsoft bought ZeniMax Studios for? ZeniMax Media for?
I didn't want to think.
$7.5 billion. $7.5 billion. I mean, sure, that now means that Microsoft owns Fallout, and it means they own Doom, and it means they own The Elder Scrolls, and it means they own Dishonored, and it means they own Prey, and like all of these things that make money. But $7.5 billion
AAA titles.
Yeah, big titles. But still, it wasn't it was more of a comment on just how little music is valued at compared to other forms of media.
I think that's an almost deceptive way for it to be looked at, and I think that's by design. I think it looks like there's not a lot of value in it, so that musicians generally put up with shitter wages in shitter situations. You can play for exposure, blah, blah, blah. I'm fucking telling you right now, there's a good reason why these record labels are all mega busy, mega doing well. All the ghostwriters are getting fucking money in their pockets, all the executives, the PR scouts, etc. They're all making money.
Sure.
But as per usual, it's the man at the bottom who's having the labour exploited.
Yeah.
So what I say is, your cheapest guitar.
Socialist Mike, he's back.
Exactly. We're going to march through the streets, guitars on fire, seize them into production.
Always works so well. Another number for you. Disney purchased Star Wars, the Star Wars brand, for $4 billion. So again, putting that ZeniMax purchase in perspective and just how much Microsoft overpaid for that, $4 billion for Star Wars. That is a money-making machine.
I think a big part of that would probably be Disney's bargaining power as well, though. I'm not saying that Microsoft don't have big bargaining power, but when you've got multiple AAA titles with different developers and whatever else, and a lot of different revenue streams and options for future work, and I'd imagine part of that contract is that whatever future IP comes from that development team or whatever is going to fall under the Microsoft bracket, and they'll get royalties on that, and blah, 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 whatever. Versus, and obviously Star Wars is a huge, like unfathomably large money-making machine.
Yeah.
It's mad. It's like the potential profits on ZeniMax and Bethesda, etc. Considering that like new IP for that kind of stuff can come up any time, you're not really going to get much new IP. You know what? I take that back, because me saying there's not much new IP for Star Wars, The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I've not watched it, and yet everybody
Great.
that spoke to has been like, get it watched, it's really good, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Star Wars license to print money, man.
But, very much so. If you start at 9, we better be very quick here and get you finished.
You know it's 8. Oh,
it's not 8.
It's
5 to 9.
Okay,
You're an hour behind.
My clock hasn't updated. That's fine.
Tremendous.
Nice. That's fine. My stream can start late. That's not an issue. But
well, it's just a good incentive.
We will use that as a great way to segue. Did you know? This show has been brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. If you have the time, please do head on over and follow them on Instagram to see more of their incredible work. I'm actually spending more and more of my time each day scrolling through Instagram and really getting the appeal of looking at incredible instruments like this. It just makes you want to order something really, really special. Of course, you can always contact them if you want to order a custom shop guitar, or head on over to their website, check out the pre-order section, and get involved on the upcoming Goliath Run 14. Again, one of these guitars can be pre-ordered for as little as $1,200 US. That's an incredible price. That's a lot of guitar for very little money. So if you want something like this in your life, head on over to ormsbyguitars.com and get involved. Thanks so much to Ormsby, and we'll see you for another show soon. Laters. So as always, a huge thank you to our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. Please do go and check them out. We really do hope that their new guitar runs have been announced. And we want you to go and check them out, because as I say, I'm getting one. And even if that means I pay full retail price for it, don't tell Perry that, but even if that means I pay full retail price for it, I'm getting one of those guitars. So if I'm that into them, you'll probably be into them too. And also a big thank you to Daniel over at Dead World Audio. Please do go and check out the Duality. It is a ridiculously cool pedal. You will enjoy it. Anything you would like to add to that, Mike?
Everything this man has said is fact. Go and give Dead World Audio and Ormsby Guitars a wee follow on all the socials. Please tell them we sent you. Hopefully we can get something done. You know what? I really, really, really want a new guitar too.
Want a zig-a-zig ah?
A zig-a-zig-ah. But I'm too skint for a new guitar, so I'm behaving myself at the moment.
In the grand scheme of things, mate, I should be too skint, and I am too skint. but I know how limited these guitars are from talking to Perry. And it's one of those sorts of things where it's like, you know what, while I'm skint, I don't have any debt aside from my mortgage. So this is the type of thing that worst case scenario, I guess I could put it on a card and pay it off over 6 months. Because financial decisions, that's the smart, responsible financial decisions. Woo!
I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah, I've got a custom shop guitar, that should be showing up in the next few months already. But, why not? Why not another one? Why not more guitars that I don't really need because I'm a sick person? I'm a sick individual. There is something wrong with me. This is why my wife left me. That's not true at all.
No. And more importantly, it's not sick to want more guitars.
No.
You're really sick if you love guitars and decide you've got enough.
Absolutely.
That's a real sign of something's wrong.
I keep trying to tell myself that's where I am. Yeah, I was going to say any messages for the guys watching the show, but of course the main message is please do go and check out the Guitar Souls on Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Guitar Souls. And if you would like to buy us a coffee, you can actually buy us a beer. I had it set so you can buy us a beer. I wanted it to be buy us a whiskey, but that's not an option that they have. So buy us a beer on buyusacoffee.com.
We'll probably suggest substitute it for a whiskey anyway.
Yeah.
And just while Levi's talking about it, there's 2 tabs. The first one that opens says membership. You don't have to subscribe if you'd rather just give us a wee dunt. You can put as much as you want in there. There's no paywall going up. We're very conscious of not making it seem like we're doing quite well. Money. We want this to be for everybody's benefit.
Yeah.
So suggestions, get them to us. If you want to fire us money for a pint or 2 when the pub eventually opens, we can do that. If you want to subscribe and get some extra content and even tell us what you think's good, please wire in. Even if you don't want to subscribe but you think you've got a good idea, let us know.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Sweet. Okay, Mike, until next time.
Bye, fuckers.
I'm not jumping off the chair again, man. My ass hurt for days.